So, what is faith, really? I mean, what's at the absolute core of it? Well, according to one of the most influential preachers of the 19th century, a guy named Charles Spurgeon, the answer is way simpler and honestly more profound than you might think. We're going to unpack his entire blueprint for faith, and it's all built from his analysis of just a single biblical miracle. All right, let's get in. Spurgeon kicks things off with the metaphor that is just absolutely central to everything he's about to say. You got to remember, back in his day, physical blindness was a common, really harsh reality. So he takes that image, something everyone understood, and he turns it inward. He argues that the real epidemic, the one most people didn't even see, was a kind of spiritual blindness, this inability to grasp the most fundamental truths. And that's the problem he's setting out to solve. Okay, so to really get what Spurgeon's building here, we have to start with this idea, a world of blindness. For him, spiritual blindness wasn't just, a poetic phrase. No, it was a full-on diagnosis of the human condition. It was the default setting, the starting point for pretty much everyone. And this is where Spurgeon is just so brilliant. He connects something familiar to something really abstract. I mean, his audience saw physical blindness every single day. So he takes that shared, visible reality and uses it to paint a picture of something deeper, something invisible. He's talking about a soul living in what he calls an inner gloom, totally cut off from real light, love, and peace. Okay, so if that's the problem, this widespread spiritual blindness, what's the solution? Well, Spurgeon finds the answer in the heroes of this particular story, two blind men who were desperate for healing. He basically dissects their entire approach, and in doing so, he creates this model for what a successful spiritual quest actually looks like. So Spurgeon isolates 4 key qualities here, and they basically create a roadmap for anyone looking for answers. First, this wasn't some casual request. It was full of earnestness. I mean, they were crying out. That's a deep, passionate craving. Second, they had incredible perseverance. They followed Jesus everywhere, refusing to give up. Third, their goal was super definite. No vague wishes here. They knew exactly what they wanted, to have their eyes opened. And finally, and this is crucial, they pleaded for mercy. They weren't demanding what they deserved, they were appealing to his compassion, because they knew they weren't entitled to anything. Okay, so all of this, the crying out, the following, the desperate pleas, it all leads to the absolute climax of the story. Spurgeon argues that everything, and I mean everything, boils down to a single pivotal moment. It all hinges on one question that honestly reveals the very core of his entire theology. Now, what's so crucial here is actually what doesn't happen. In Spurgeon's analysis, Jesus just completely bypasses all the questions you'd expect him to ask. Right? He doesn't ask about their past sins. He doesn't ask about their good deeds. He doesn't even ask about their suffering. All of that is just swept aside, completely clearing the stage for the one and only thing that truly matters. And here it is, the question. Believe ye that I am able to do this? For Spurgeon, this is the hinge that everything turns on. The question isn't about their worthiness. It's not about their struggle. It's aimed squarely at one thing and one thing only, faith. And their answer to that is the only thing standing between them and a miracle. But, okay, what is this kind of faith really? To make it less abstract, Spurgeon used these fantastic analogies. He says faith isn't some huge effort you have to work up inside yourself. No, it's just the tool that receives the gift. Think of it like the bucket you need to draw water from a deep well, or the little cup you hold up to a gushing stream, or maybe this single thread shot across a massive ravine. It's not the bridge itself, but it's what allows the bridge to be built. See the pattern? Faith doesn't create the power, it just connects you to it. He even used this simple, kind of funny story from his own life to drive the point home. One day, Spurgeon threw a stick to try and scare off a stray dog, but instead of running away, the dog just trusted him. It wagged its tail, fetched the stick, and brought it right back. And Spurgeon's takeaway was amazing. He said, "He trusted me and conquered me." And that right there is how faith works. It's a simple, disarming trust that has the power to overcome anything. But, Spurgeon was also a realist. He knew that this moment of faith doesn't look the same for every single person. So by looking at other stories, he actually identified 2 very different paths people can take from that spiritual blindness to finally being able to see. So for some people, it's what he calls the simple path. It's instantaneous, it's a complete healing, boom, just like the 2 blind men in our story. A direct, uncomplicated trust brings immediate peace. But then for others, it's more of a gradual path. The understanding clears up slowly. It's like the light comes on, but the vision is still blurry for a while. And the crucial point for Spurgeon is this: both paths are totally valid. Both are genuine works of grace. And to describe that gradual path, Spurgeon uses this absolutely incredible quote from another healing story. A man gets his sight back, but when he first opens his eyes, he says, "I see men, I see that they walk as trees." I mean, think about that. He can see, which is the miracle, but everything is still confused, distorted, exaggerated. And Spurgeon says that's exactly what it's like for some new believers. They've received the light, but their spiritual understanding is still kind of muddled. Things just don't quite look right yet. Okay, so what is the ultimate conclusion here? After laying out the problem of blindness, the process of seeking, and these two different paths to sight, Spurgeon brings it all home. And he lands on a conclusion about faith that was honestly pretty radical for his time. See, this is where Spurgeon really pushes back against a common idea, especially back then. He argues that a true conversion does not have to be this long, agonizing, super dramatic process. He's not saying it never happens that way, but he insists that all that struggle and despair, they're not required entry tickets. In fact, he kind of saw them as unfortunate detours from a much, much simpler path. So for Spurgeon, the ideal, the absolute gold standard, is what he called a childlike faith. And what does that mean? Well, it's not about having complex theology figured out, and it's not about going through some intense emotional struggle. It's so much simpler than that. It's a direct, immediate trust. It's about showing up exactly as you are and just simply accepting the gift that's being offered to you. And this leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought to wrap things up. By focusing so intensely on that one single moment and that one single question, Spurgeon completely reframes the whole idea of salvation. He's saying it's not a ladder of struggle that you have to climb step by painful step. It's a hand that's reaching out for you to take. And that really poses the ultimate question, doesn't it? What does it truly mean to be saved, not by a process, but by a person?